And we're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the generic live show Geek I.O. special edition election night coverage. We're going to be launching here in about 33 seconds. No, I don't want to save. All right. All right. So yes, this is going to be I'm really nervous for this, by the way. I just want to put that out there. I'm going to do manual. All right. I'm not ready. My body is not ready. All right. Let's see. All right. We need to be coming up here. Okay. So, all right. We're going in 3, 2, 1. We are going live with the Geek I.O. GLS special election night coverage in 3, 2, 1. Program is classified PG. It may contain some coarse language. The generic live show and Geek I.O. recommend parental guidance.
You are listening to a podcast of the Geek I.O. Media Network. For all of our shows and more, visit geek-io.net. And to help support the network, head over to patreon.com/geekio.
And democracy are part of your basic bargain too. You brought our country back. Now it's time, your time, to secure the gains and move ahead. And you know what? America can't succeed unless you succeed. That is why I am running for President of the United States.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am officially running for President of the United States, and we are going to make our country great again.
News and views that you can use on this election night. This is the generic live show and Geek I.O. special election night coverage with your hosts. Nope, that my intro cut off. Oh no! Thanks for joining us here on the generic live show Geek I.O. special event. This is the Geek I.O. generic live show special event. We are covering the election night coverage in details. A historic moment just happened. The first polls in this election cycle just closed. That's right, the first polling places have officially closed for 2016. That ended abruptly. The first polls closed at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Remember, by the way, I just want to point out all of the times that I'll be saying on this episode will be in Eastern time. The first polls closed a little over 3 minutes ago here Eastern time. The next polls close in 57 minutes. That'll be the next slew of polling closes, and that's when we'll get more of an idea on how things will be shaping up in a lot of these early states. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dale Campbell. I'll be here with you all night long as election night rolls around. CJ Boat will be joining me a little later on. he's a father. He's got kids, so he's putting the kids to bed, and then he'll be joining me here on the stream. So excited to be here covering this election cycle with you. There's really not much to do in this first hour other than kind of predict what's going to kind of happen here, as I've got a lot going on. I've got, just to give you a bit of detail on my setup, I've got a lot of, I've got real clear politics, I've got all sorts of political outlets open on my laptop, and I've also got cable news going on. I've got CNN on at the moment, and they're showing someone at the Clinton hotel, the Clinton HQ rather, and they're showing now someone from the Trump HQ. They're kind of flying around and seeing what the feeling is kind of like going into the next hour here. Like I said, 55 minutes until the next polling places close. There are some first polling places that have closed. For example, there are some polling places in Kentucky and some places in there's some places in Georgia that closed early, I think. I'm not too sure. Some of the places did close an hour before all the others here, but we'll bring you the votes from those results when they come in, of course, on the Generic Live Show Geek I.O. Special election night coverage. All right, so hang on 1 second. We've got early votes from New Hampshire coming in just now. So 1% reporting has Donald Trump in the lead, 52.5%, Hillary Clinton at 41%, and Gary Johnson at 6.6%. That is with 1% reporting. That is of the last refresh, which was a minute ago. There are 4 electoral votes in the state of New Hampshire. I'm going to move over now to CNN are doing some exit polling. I've got it on mute. So they're showing favorability numbers between Hillary Clinton and Trump and what it looks like over there. Favorable for Hillary Clinton is 44. Unfavorable for Hillary Clinton is 54. Oh, Donald Trump's unfavorability numbers are 61% to Donald Trump's favorable 37%. We've got some early votes now out of Kentucky, and Kentucky, which they closed at 6 p.m. Kentucky is reporting Donald Trump at 78.9%, Hillary Clinton at 18.7%, Gary Johnson at 1.4%, McMullen, I'll just use last names, McMullen at 0.6%, and Stein at 0.4%. That is early detection out of Kentucky, and the early detection out of New Hampshire is with 1% reporting Trump in the lead, 52.5%. That is early these couple of states here. Now, I want to this first hour is really going to be what is going to be played. So according to Real Clear Politics and the No Toss-Ups map. So here is how this is going to shake down if the predictions are correct. Now, I'm not agreeing with all of these predictions, but this is according to Real Clear Politics and their kind of averages. If there are no toss-up states, Clinton Kane will run away with 272 electoral votes and Trump Pence with 266 votes. That's how Real Clear Politics is predicting that it will go. So I predict that it's going to be a very, very close race. Is it going to be this number particularly? I don't believe So, but it's interesting to see that 272 rather for Clinton Kane and 266 for Trump Pence. That is way closer than what it was, say, in 2012 even, with these electoral votes and electoral college votes rather. Now, here's how the key race alert. Okay, so Kentucky, according to CNN, according to what I have as well, in Kentucky, Trump is up 79.3, Clinton 18. I don't know if that's what I said before. And New Hampshire has not changed. So an early lead out of Kentucky. Johnson has 1.6, McMullen has 0.5, Stein has 0.5, and Di Ralafonte has 0.1. So early numbers out of Kentucky looks good for Trump. Looking at the Real Clear Politics electoral map, it does look good for Trump there as well. Some of the early polling places, some of the polling places closed there. Here's how the night's going to shake out. Next hour, in about 50 minutes' time, Georgia, Indiana, Kentucky, South Carolina, Vermont, and Virginia will close. So that'll be a big shakedown when that comes through. At 7:30, again, all of these are Eastern Standard Time. 7:30, North Carolina, Ohio, and West Virginia. The 8 o'clock Eastern Time is when it's going to shake. This is where it's going to shape up the race. So at 8 o'clock, you have Alabama, Connecticut, Delaware, District of Columbia, Florida, Illinois, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Mississippi, Missouri, New Hampshire, New Jersey, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, and Tennessee. It is going to be at 8 o'clock. At 8:30, we'll close. At 9 o'clock, you've got the next slew of states. You've got Arizona, Colorado, Kansas, Louisiana, Michigan, Minnesota, Nebraska, New Mexico, New York, North Dakota, South Dakota, Texas, Wisconsin, Wyoming. At 10 o'clock, you've got Iowa, Montana, Nevada, Utah. Next up, at 11, you've got California, Hawaii, Idaho, Oregon, and Washington. By the way, California is the one with the most at 55 electoral votes. And at 1 a.m., you've got Alaska closing up, but they have 3 electoral votes, which could really play crucial in the people. A lot of buzz earlier on when I was listening to some podcasts earlier on when I was waking up here. You've got to think it's only 9:12 here locally where I am in the morning. I was listening to my morning shows, and a lot of them were saying that it could come down to this Maine 2nd District. And that is announced. Where is Maine? All of the main ones are announced at the same time, but they split a lot of their votes as well at the same time. I can't find Maine on this list. 8. So 8 o'clock is when we'll find that out. Eliminated, looking at some of the toss-ups. In the toss-up category, according to Real Clear Politics, you've still got Florida, Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, New Hampshire. Maine to Maine Prime, that's what I call it. It's not the one that's divided. North Carolina, Virginia, Georgia, Colorado, Nevada, New Mexico, Arizona, Iowa. A lot of those are the 8 o'clock states. So that'll be determined fairly early on. Now, let's go to our map and see if there's anything different. Trump's at 79.1, Clinton's at 18, Johnson's 1.8, McMullen's at 0.6, Stein's at 0.4, and De La Fonte is at 0.1. You know, nothing new out of New Hampshire quite yet. Still 0% reporting from Kentucky. I suppose not all of the polls are closed there yet. I think the rest close at 7 o'clock Eastern, so you can't really report on anything until all of the votes are in. Like I said, this first hour is really going to be a sit tight and kind of predict what's going to happen. But you know what would be fun? If I had any of this prepared, which is what I should have. I kind of teased it to the beginning of the show, and here's what I thought would be fun for this first hour to kind of flush it out a bit more, to play snippets from announcement speeches, because that'll make this first you know what? I've got a clip here from CNN that says Trump's best lines from
I beat China all the time. When would
here is his best bits from his 2016 speech.
I beat China all the time. When was the last time you saw a Chevrolet in Tokyo? When do we beat Mexico at the border? They're laughing at us. They're bringing drugs. They're bringing crime. They're rapists. The big lie, Obamacare, $5 billion. I beat China all the time. They're laughing at us. They're bringing drugs. They're bringing crime. They're rapists. The big lie, Obamacare, $5 billion we spent on a website. I hire people. They do a website. It costs me $3. Are you running? Are you not running? I am officially running for President of the United States. We need a leader that wrote The Art of the Deal. I will be the greatest jobs president that God ever created. Free trade can be wonderful if you have smart people, but we have people that are stupid. I like China. I just sold an apartment for $15 million to somebody from China. They have bridges that make the George Washington Bridge look like small potatoes. I don't need anybody's money. It's nice. I'm really rich. I love the Saudis. Many are in this building. Obama, a year ago, Yemen was a great victory. 2 weeks later, the place was blown up. We're dying. We're dying. We need money. Thank you, darling. But Mr. Trump, you're not a nice person.
We don't need nice.
That's true. But actually, I am. I think I am a nice person. We have losers. We have losers. I would build a great wall, and nobody builds walls better than me, believe me. Nobody would.
Okay, that's enough. I can only take so much of that. So now, because I can't find any Hillary Clinton. You know what? Let's go through some of the debates. Because that's probably a good place to start. You know, I could have had all of this prepared. All right, let's do. And let's not have that at all. Let's play some of these.
City in Hempstead, New York. I want to welcome you to the first presidential.
First, we have to build an economy that works for everyone, not just those at the top. We also have to make the economy fairer. That starts with raising the national minimum wage and also guarantee, finally, equal pay for women's work. Finally, we tonight are on the stage together, Donald Trump and I. Donald, it's good to be with you. We're going to have a debate where we are talking about the important issues facing our country. You have to judge us. Who can shoulder the immense, awesome responsibilities of the presidency?
Mr. Trump, the same question to you.
Our jobs are fleeing the country. They're going to Mexico. They're going to many other countries. You look at what China is doing to our country in terms of making our product. So Ford is leaving. You see that, their small car division leaving. As far as childcare is concerned and so many other things, I think Hillary and I agree on that. We probably disagree a little bit as to numbers and amounts and what we're going to do, but perhaps we'll be talking about that later.
That is them at the first debate talking about jobs. I want to bring you the second debate. This is how the second debate kind of went down as well. Want to, of course, bring some moments to you.
So much competition in the insurance industry. Once we break out the lines and allow the competition to come, when we get rid of those lines, you will have competition, and we will be able to keep pre-existing. We'll also be able to help people that don't have money, because we are going to have people protected. We're going to block grant into the states. We're going to block grant into Medicaid into the states so that we will be able to take care of people without the necessary funds to take care of themselves.
Thank you, Mr.
There are 3.3 million Muslims in the United States.
Homophobia, and that's a shame. Without the necessary of themselves.
The consequences of being labeled as a threat to the country after the election is over.
Well, you're right about Islamophobia, and that's a shame. But one thing we have to do is we have to make sure that, because there is a problem. I mean, whether we like it or not, and we can be very politically correct, but whether we like it or not, there is a problem. And we have to be sure that Muslims come in and report when they see something going on. These are radical Islamic terrorists. And she won't even mention the word. To solve a problem, you have to be able to state what the problem is, or at least say the name.
Unfortunately, there's been a lot of very divisive, dark things said about Muslims. And even someone like Captain Khan, the young man who sacrificed himself defending our country in the United States Army, has been subject to attack by Donald. We've had Muslims in America since George Washington. And we've had many successful Muslims. We just lost a particularly well-known one with Muhammad Ali. My vision of America is an America where everyone has a place. I intend to defeat ISIS, to do so in a coalition with majority Muslim nations.
That is the two candidates on the issue of Muslim immigration. And one of the most heated parts of this kind of campaign was the temporary Muslim ban, and I think a lot of people do have that in mind when it comes to voting in this election, particularly because it did spur up a lot of conversation. It's going to be in the mindset of a lot of people. Now, let's see, we are at the hour, so 40. That's not right. Yeah, 40. Also minutes until new polling places close. We go to Kentucky, where not much has changed there. 72.1%. 72.7 goes to Trump, 24.6 goes to Clinton, 1.5 goes to Johnson, 0.7 goes to McMullen, 0.4 goes to Stein, and De La Fonte does not get any percentage points there. Now, they're showing on CNN something that's rather interesting. The 2012, kind of, they're flying around and doing the 2012 kind of map. They showed the Romney one, North Carolina, which of course is a crucial one in this election. So Ohio went to Obama in 2012. It's showing a lot of flying around thing, which is interesting to see, because this is not the 12 at all. I mean, I was not following it as closely in 2012, but I can tell you that it's not it's not the same in 2012. Now, let's go down the, whoa, how about we refresh the page right when I need it. So let's go down, we can focus on some of the Senate and House races that have happened so far. Sure, we've got the time, it's about 35 minutes until the next poll thing booth closes. Oh, there, you've got 35 minutes and 30 seconds. So we'll probably take a break between now and then. Anyway, we'll probably take a break on the half hour. So let's go to Indiana, where Republicans are up in Indiana in terms of the Senate votes. In New Hampshire, Republican are up. Kentucky, Republican are up. In terms of governorships, Indiana Republicans are up. In New Hampshire, Republicans in the House, where are we? District 1 in New Hampshire, Democrats are up against Republicans. So there's that vote on there. We go to Indiana. Indiana, we're going to get some Indiana results in now. Partial Indiana results. Some of those polling places closed at 6 o'clock as well. It's taken a while for those results to come in. There's nothing new out of New Hampshire, though. Those aren't expected to close for another hour yet. Let's go to the new developments in Indiana. Trump at 69.4%, Clinton at 27.3%, and Johnson at 3.3%. In Kentucky, it's shifted a little bit. Still 0.1% out of Kentucky. I think it's 0.2 out of Indiana. 0.1 out of Kentucky. We've got Trump at 69.7, Clinton at 27.3, Johnson at 1.7, McMullen at 0.8, Stein at 0.4, and De La Fonte at 0.1. And again, nothing new out of New Hampshire there. So other results out of Indiana looking good for Trump as well. Now, again, yeah, that's kind of the Senate races. Now let's go to the third debate. Now this third debate was probably one of the spiciest moments of any of the debates. I mean, really, this debate was probably, again, one of the spicy ones. So here's a moment from Trump. If it'll load.
Would happen because I am pro-life and I will be appointing pro-life judges. I would think that will go back to the individual states.
But I'm asking you specifically, would you like
if they overturned it, it'll go back to the states.
But what I'm asking you, sir, is do you want to see the court overturn? You just said you want to see the court protect the Second Amendment. Do you want to see the court overturn Roe v. Wade?
Well, if we put another 2 or perhaps 3 justices on, that's really what's going to be, will happen.
In this case, it's not only about Roe v. Wade. So many states are putting very stringent regulations on women that block them from exercising that choice, to the extent that they are defunding Planned Parenthood. Donald has said he's in favor of defunding Planned Parenthood. He even supported shutting the government down to defund Planned Parenthood. I will defend Planned Parenthood. Indeed, he said women should be punished, that there should be some form of punishment for women who obtain abortions. And I could just not be more opposed to that kind of thinking.
You also voted against a ban on late-term partial birth abortions. Why?
Because Roe v. Wade very clearly sets out there can be regulations on abortion so long as the life and the health of the mother are taken into account. And when I voted as a senator, I did not think that was the case.
If you go with what Hillary is saying, in the 9th month, you can take the baby and rip the baby out of the womb of the mother just prior to the birth of the baby. Now, you can say that that's okay, and Hillary can say that that's okay, but it's not okay with me.
Well, that is not what happens in these cases. And using that kind of scare rhetoric is just terribly unfortunate. This is one of the worst possible choices that any woman and her family has to make. I've been to countries where governments either forced women to have abortions like they used to do in China, or forced women to bear children like they used to do in Romania. And I can tell you the government has no business in the decisions that women make.
And honestly, no.
That is probably one of the most spicy moments from the third debate, discussing the candidates' differences on partial birth abortion and some of the opinions there, some of the fiery moments of the debate. We are waiting for the next polls to close in half an hour, the half an hour splints, as I like to call it, where at 7 o'clock, Georgia will close, Indiana will close, Kentucky will close, South Carolina, Vermont, Virginia. And of course, in the 7 o'clock hour, you've also got at 7:30, you've got North Carolina, Ohio, and West Virginia as well. So that is all coming up in the 7 o'clock hour. Right now, we do have a couple of results for you to do. We've had some 6 o'clock poll closures in planned, by the way. I just want to put that out there. In Kentucky and Indiana. Kentucky with 0.3 reporting. Remember, Kentucky has 8 electoral votes. Trump is leading 68.5, Clinton 28, Johnson 2.1, McMullen 0.9, Stein 0.5, and De La Fonte 0.1. Indiana with 0.5 reporting. Trump is leading 71.9 to Clinton 24.4, and Johnson is in third with 3.7. 28 minutes and 22 seconds now until the next poll closes. Looking down in the Senate here in Indiana, Republican Young is leading. In Kentucky, Republican Paul is leading. In New Hampshire, Ayotte is leading. That is Republican. A good start to the Republican Senate. Governors. Republican is leading in Indiana. New Hampshire, Republican is leading. In the House, New Hampshire District 1 Democrat is leading there from quite a large margin there as well. Nothing new out of New Hampshire. That's probably because of the midnight and early votings that happened there. There's not much else to say. News.com.au lies it out quite simply in terms of when will we know. So here it is. There's different scenarios that news.com.au lays out for what's either going to happen today or what's going to happen away from today. If the result hinges on a road-to-place margin, I'm reading now according to news.com.au, it could be a very messy call like it could be very messy. We call the 2000 election between George W. Bush and Al Gore, which ended up being decided in the Supreme Court more than a month after polling day. If the election is too close, a winner will be. If the election isn't too close, rather, a winner will be convincingly declared shortly after 2 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, when the polls close in most Western states. If it's a landslide, it'll become fairly obvious early as one candidate sweeps key swing states. In this scenario, news.com.au says it could be predicted a winner as early as 12:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. It's only a few hours away. Yet, though it wouldn't become official until less competitive Western states actually declare their results later in the afternoon. Now, while we've got some time, we might as well lay out how the system actually works. So how the system actually works. So typically typically none of the millions of Americans at the poll will be voting directly for a presidential candidate. Their votes will actually be used to choose a group of electors and then will pick the next president on their behalf. You've probably seen an electoral map before. It shows all 50 American states along with the number of electoral votes up to grabs in each. These electoral votes, one for each elector, are key to the election. There are 538 of them in total, divided between the states according to their population. For example, California is a large state, has 55 electoral votes, while sparsely populated Idaho has just 4. On election day, whoever wins the popular vote in any given state claims all of that state's electoral votes. And the first candidate to 270 electoral votes is declared president-elect, and that is the finish line. So we've got the map here from 2012 as kind of an example. So you can think that a lot of blue states a lot of western blue states as well, a lot of eastern blue states, particularly northeastern blue states as well. A lot of volume there as can be seen on 2012 map as well. The states Mr. Obama won blue and Romney won red. Obama got 51% of the popular vote compared to Mr. Romney's 47%, which sounds close, but the electoral vote was far more than convincing. 332 to Obama, 206 of Mr. Romney's. Why? Because Mr. Obama won a bunch of key swing states such as Florida, Ohio, and Virginia by narrow margins. If a fraction of the 125 million total votes cast gone the other way in those key states, the landslide would have been a nail-biter instead. So the aim of the game is to get to that magic 270 vote. Of course, we are 22 minutes away from the next polling place closing. And I want to say this. It has been a huge campaign, regardless of the result. And I said this last night, I could get in trouble for saying this here, but it has been a huge campaign for. My cold off. But there's been a huge campaign for both of these candidates. I should turn my phone off. That's how that works, right? That's exactly how that works. It has been a huge campaign on both of these. The other thing, both of these candidates in the primaries as well as now it's come down to all of this over the next several hours, over the next probably going to be, or before, until the polls close it, at least. It's going to be before we start, before the polls close. The last poll closes at 1 a.m. Eastern time, and it's now 6:38. So it's going to be, it's going to be a big day as well. And a lot of the candidates were doing late night rallies last night. They were doing midnight, 1 o'clock rallies in some of these key states as well. So will that pay off or not? And a completely different story. Of course, this hour, we've got our eyes on some of these key states as well. Well, sorry, not some key states, some states had 6 o'clock polling closures. So Kentucky is one of them, where Trump is comfortably leading, 67.3 to Clinton 28.8, Johnson's 2.3, McClellan's 0.9, Stein's 0.5, and De La Fonte's 0.1. We sneak up to Indiana, where Trump is leading comfortably 69.8% to Clinton's 26.4% and Johnson's 3.7%. We're sitting tight at this point, waiting for that 7 o'clock slew where Georgia, which has let's run through the states one by one and tell you how many electoral votes they have, because that's probably a good start as well. Georgia, I just realized I forgot to do something on the broadcast. That's interesting. Anyway, never to mind. So Georgia has 16 electoral votes, Indiana has 11, Kentucky has 8 total, where the remaining polling places closed. South Carolina has 9, Vermont has 3, and Virginia has 13. So there's a lot of grabs in that first hour. And just adding that up, yeah. Should have that done. But it's live, this is live, you can't control live. And that first polling booth slew, you've got 60 electoral votes there. At 6:30, you've got North Carolina with 15, Ohio with 18, and West Virginia with 5. You've got 38 from 7:30. 8 o'clock, this is the big one. 9 for Alabama, 7 for Connecticut, 3 for Delaware, 3 for DC, 29 for Florida, 20 for Illinois, 4 for Maine, split up. 11 for Massachusetts, 6 for Mississippi, 10 for Missouri, 4 for New Hampshire, 14 for New Jersey, 7 for Oklahoma, 20 for Pennsylvania, 4 for Rhode Island, and 11 for Tennessee. It's a total of, as I knock my headphones out, 172 in that 8 o'clock block. In 8:30, you got Arkansas, which is 6. At 9 o'clock, that next slew, you've got 11 for Arizona, 9 for Colorado, 6 for Kansas, 8 for Louisiana, 16 for Michigan, 10 for Minnesota, 5 for Nebraska, 5 for New Mexico, 29 for New York, 3 for North Dakota, 3 for South Dakota, 38 for Texas, 3 for Wyoming, that's 156. At 10 o'clock, 6 for Iowa, 3 for Montana, 6 for Nevada, 6 for Utah, that's 21 from 10, and from 11 you got 55 from California, 4 for Hawaii, 4 for Idaho, 7 for Oregon, and 12 for Washington. That's 82 at 11 o'clock hour, and you've got 3 electoral votes at 1 o'clock for Alaska. So let's go back to about 16 minutes and 10 seconds until the next polling booth closure. Let's go back to our 2 states that we're watching this hour, Kentucky and Indiana. With 0.8% voting, Trump is leading 67.9, Clinton 28.1, Johnson 2.5, McMullen 0.9, Stein 0.5, and Pierre Lafontaine 0.1. Indiana with 0.9% reporting. Trump has 70.5%, and Clinton has 25.8%. And Johnson has 3.7. Remember, Johnson is on all 50 states as well. So is Trump and Clinton, and Stein, I believe, is on 32. I believe. I believe so. But she can be written in a lot of states as well. So and there's been a lot of news over the last little while so a lot of these people writing in candidates, which is a thing you can do if you so decide to. You can write in a particular candidate if the US so inclined to. So in Ohio, where disgruntled Republican hopeful John Kasich wrote in John McCain, and there was one or two people that wrote in Mitt Romney in there as their votes. Now they're actually informal votes. I want to put that out there. They're writing candidates. So I think as a system quite interesting that we don't have here. We don't have the writing system. We have no, we don't have the writing system here. By the way, we have mandatory voting as well, so that would actually change up things if the US had mandatory voting. I'm not calling for it, but it would be interesting if that was the case as well. We are going to take a quick break here. Actually, we're going to run down some of the Senate real quick and see if there's anything changed there. Young is still leading in Indiana. Paul is still leading comfortably in Kentucky. Ayotte is leading in New Hampshire. So we'll click for Republicans there. Indiana Republican is leading. Indiana District 9. Republican is leading. So we've got new results there. In New Hampshire District 1, Democrat is still leading there as well. So we have, again, a slew of votes coming in. After 7 o'clock here on live election night coverage. Not much is going to change between now and 7 o'clock. I have a feeling. It's quite good to say that the start of it is a strong Trump lead in Kentucky and Indiana, and a narrow Trump lead in New Hampshire. That is quite safe to say as we progress here. Here on election night coverage. We are going to take a quick break. There's going to be a lot of silence while we wait for the 7 o'clock hour to dawn on us in under 11 minutes here, as some of the next polling places do close. All right, so we have the results. So 1.1% reporting in Kentucky has Trump still leading 66.1% though, so that lead is shrinking. It's shrunk from what it was before, which I don't know whether that's alarming or not, but still, it's still a solid lead. It's 66.1% to Clinton's 29.7%. Johnson's got 2.6, McConnell's got 0.9, Stone's got 0.6, and Dale Fonte has 0.1. Indiana with 1.2% reporting. Trump has a clear lead over Clinton at 69.5% over Clinton's 26.8% lead, with Johnson at 3.7%. And I had to check it anyway because you never know. We're watching key states. We've got 10 more minutes here until hour 2 of the coverage kicks off here. How about we do some news? How about we do some last minute news? So many late breaking news. We get to election 2016. It's not voting. Why is it not loading? So we got some headlines here, though, so that's exciting. So in a lot of early reporting, as well said in Florida, a lot more people turned. More Floridians have already voted than the total of Bush Gore in. I'm assuming that was in early voting as well. I'm seeing on CNN some of these lines though for some polling places. Some of the lines are still fairly huge. I mean, that's still outside the building. I know it's a bit before 7 o'clock Eastern time, but there's still quite a fair line for 7 o'clock at night. And they're showing places that close at 8. They close at 8 o'clock. Some 8 o'clock, some 9 o'clock. On TV. Of course, I've got CNN on news, so I can't do what they're saying. CNN is reporting Clinton confident will win in Virginia. That's what some of the Clinton sources are saying there. By the way, some of this Facebook stuff is hilarious to watch, by the way. There's some live polling going on Facebook, which, it is Facebook, so take it for what you will. There are some interesting ones on there. According to Reuters / IPSOS, expects turnout to be 60%. 60% of population that could vote will turn out to vote. That's according to Reuters / Ipsos. That would be huge if it was 60%. Let's see what the Trump one is saying. On the Trump side of things, according to someone at Trump HQ, is saying that they're saying that this Trump campaign is looking for a Cinderella story in Virginia. So Virginia is turning out to be a poll that is they're looking at. So I've seen an element in the background. I know I'm just conveying what they're saying, but they are saying some rather interesting things. So here it is, what they're saying. So they're saying an exit, CNN exit poll, 60 in Virginia, 68% of white voters, 20% black, 6% Latino, 3% Asian, 3% other race. This is an exit poll, so take it for what you will, and we know how exit polling worked in 2016. In Virginia, to the question, are you a college graduate? 57% said yes, 43% said no. In Georgia, the white vote is 61%, black being 30, Latino being 5, Asian being 3, and other race being 2. Hey, I'm doing it quicker than you, buddy. Keep up. I'm doing it quicker than CNN, but in Georgia, it's a 50-50 split on the college graduate question. Which is interesting to see that half of the state is college graduate, and the other half is not. So let's see, like 2.9% reporting in Kentucky, just doing the fly around on these two states that we're watching at the moment. Indiana and Kentucky had 6 o'clock poll place closures. So the polling places close at Kentucky at 6 o'clock. At 2.9% reporting, Trump's at 67.5%, Clinton's at 28.5%, Johnson's at 2.5%, McMullen's at 0.9%, Stein's at 0.6%, and De La Fonte is at 0.1%. In Indiana, with 2.5% reporting, Trump is at 67.3%, and Clinton's at 29%, and Johnson's at 3.7%. And there, I have to check it because it's on our list. There is nothing new out of New Hampshire. Because logic, that's why. So Virginia is next. They have 13 electoral votes. It's the one that they're focusing in on at the moment. So on their ballot, they have Clinton, Trump, Johnson, Stein, and McMullen. Three minutes to the hour here. The Senate races, the 3 Senate races that we've been saying, Kentucky, New Hampshire, all look good for Republican. Indiana and New Hampshire governors look good for Republican. In Indiana, District 9, Republican is leading, but slimly. And in New Hampshire, District 1, the Democrat is leading there. We've got 1 minute and 45 seconds now until the next polling places close. So this is where things might get a little bit more interesting. I'm going to take a quick drink break because talking by myself on the microphone is really difficult. What else is trending on election 2016? Election day can be super stressful. This live stream of Huffman's might help. Thank you for that. this with stuff. And I don't want to go there. Live election results. Live election results. Live election results. White supremacists. Not reading that. Live election results. I knew I wanted that some course language, but I'm not going there. Just election results at this point. The final moments, though, again, some final moments in the campaigning. Again, both candidates were up doing midnight, 1 o'clock rallies last night. Again, and now, yeah, they voted early too. So it's interesting to see. Interesting to see. All right, so here we go. So according to CNN are predicting that Trump pulls out a victory. Oh, by the way, ding. The votes, the polling places in Georgia, Indiana, Kentucky, South Carolina, Vermont, and Virginia have closed. So we're going to get those results in soon. CNN are predicting that Clinton will pull out in Vermont. Not surprising, by the way, just want to put that out there. In Georgia, it's too early to call. That's the CNN's, by the way, reporting. Virginia, well, they've moved it back to the too early to call category, and South Carolina, too early to call. That is what they're predicting. If CNN's predictions are correct, CNN has the predictions win, and have Trump at 19 and Clinton at 3. That's predictions, by the way. Nothing has been confirmed. Nothing has been confirmed. It's okay. With 3 states being too early to call. I'd say any states it's too early to call. So let's update you while we're waiting for results from updates from the 6 o'clock club. I'm calling them the 6 o'clock club. With 5.8% reporting, the 6 o'clock club, Kentucky and Indiana, with Kentucky with 5.8% reporting. Trump is at 65% even. Clinton is at 30.6%. Johnson's at 2.7. McMullen's at 1. Stein's at 0.6, and De La Fonte is at 0.1. In Indiana, with 3.6% reporting, Trump is at 65.1, Clinton is at 31, and Johnson's at 0.9. And there's doing some exit polling right there. All right, so next polling places to close are North Carolina, Ohio, and West Virginia. They're in about 27 minutes away on there. All right. Oh, we've got results. Okay. We've got results. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've got breaking news. I think we should have some breaking news bump up, by the way, just so we can know we can differentiate it. There we go. Here's our breaking news bumper. Nope, that's not it. Here it is. That's our breaking news bumper. It is, according to Politico and Real Clear Politics, so 2 sources there, calling Indiana and Kentucky a Trump win. So that means that Trump has 19 electoral votes. They're calling Vermont a Clinton win. New Hampshire is still a toss-up state, though. The latest numbers with 7.3% reporting. Kentucky is at 65%. Clinton is at 30.5%. Johnson's at 2.8%. McMullen is at 1.1%. Stein is at 0.6%, and De La Fonte is at 0.1%. Indiana, with 4.2% voting. Trump 65%, Clinton 30.9%, and Johnson 4%. New Hampshire has not changed since last updated. So that is your breaking news at 5 minutes past the hour here, that Kentucky and Indiana have been called Trump wins, according to Politico and Real Clear Politics. So Trump is currently leading 19. I'm still waiting for some results to come in from those 7 o'clock. Some of those states. They did close 5 minutes ago, so do have to give them some slack. Remember, 6 o'clock, we're waiting for Georgia, South Carolina, and Virginia. In 24 minutes, North Carolina, West Virginia, and Ohio. Trump Pence at 19, and Clinton is at 3, securing Vermont. Now, I find that interesting because there's no results from Vermont yet to report on. At least I'm not seeing any. So Trump gets Kentucky. I'm not seeing anything on anything's come from Vermont yet, but it's been called as Clinton win, which is in. So Georgia, Virginia, South Carolina are too early to call. No results from them yet. When's New Hampshire close? In the 6 o'clock club. Go on. Georgia, Indiana, Kentucky, South Carolina, Vermont, Virginia, North Carolina, Ohio, Virginia. Yes. Trump up at 19 to 3. So an early lead for Trump there. Excuse me. Go out on there. I do apologize because we had extra life over the weekend, so my voice is still fairly shredded from that.